Hi, this is Rob Wolff, English teacher, native speaker, and this is English dla Polaków, especially for Polish people, and I want you to learn my language. A few days ago it was my birthday on the 1st of September, the first day of school, and I ended 40. I ended 40 years. Skończyłem 40 lat. I ended 40 years. Okay, in English you can't say I ended 40 years. That's really strange. If you say to an English person, you ended 40 years, they would think that, okay, so now you're 41, right? Well, in Polish, if you end 40 years, it means now you're 40. But for an English person, if you end 40, you should be 41. If you start 40, then you're 40. So it's very strange. In English, we don't say I ended 40. We just say today, it's my birthday, I'm 40. Or I'm 40 years old. Don't say I'm 40 years as well.
I'm 40 years old. Don't say I'm 40 years, I have 40 years, I ended 40 years, I finished 40 years.
Here's something that you might find interesting. I was born on the 1st of September. If I had been born one day earlier, just one day earlier, I would have been in a completely different school year and I would have had completely different friends. See, in Poland, if you are born in 1980, all your classmates were also born in 1980 because the school calendar starts from January to December, whereas in England, it's from the 1st of September to the 31st of August. And by the way, it's not August, it's August. Don't say August, say August.
August, autumn, Austria, Australia.
So I was the oldest in my class. If I had been born one day earlier, I would have been in the class above, but I would have been the youngest in the whole year.
If I had been, I would have been.
So it was my first day at school and it was so heavy. It was a heavy day. That's one more thing, we don't really say heavy in English, we don't say it was a heavy day. I know in Polish you say it was a ciężki dzień, to był ciężki dzień, but you don't say that in English. You say it was a hard day, or it was a tough day, or it was a rough day. So don't say heavy.
Hard day, long day, tough day, rough day.
Heavy means ciężki, as in waga or waga. So, for example, this elephant is very heavy. Ooh. So when you're thinking of the word ciężki, you should say hard or difficult or tough. So this means ciężki. Now, let's talk about the pronunciation of the word tough. It's a very strange pronunciation, it ends in O-U-G-H. And we'll talk about many other words which end like this, and I'll give you a quick tip to help you with the pronunciation with O-U-G-H. Some words that end in O-U-G-H are words like tough, rough, enough, cough, although. The first three rhymed. The second was a half rhyme, and then although was just completely different. So there's no real rule for the pronunciation of O-U-G-H. Sometimes it ends in uff, sometimes it's off, and sometimes it's o. So there's no rule. Because of this, many people say to me, boff. And I don't know what they're talking about, but then I realize they're talking about kupiłem, buy, bought. But people say boff. Don't say boff. But there's one easy way to remember how to say bought, because it ends in T. If it's O-U-G-H-T or A-U-G-H-T, it's silent. The G and the H are completely silent and you just say ought. For example, bought, caught, taught, for example.
bought, caught, taught, fought, brought.
Now, why are there so many differences in pronunciation for O-U-G-H-T or O-U-G-H? I really don't know. To be honest with you, I think it's a bit bez sensu. How do you say bez sensu in English? No sense? No, it's actually pointless. Pointless. Point means, I think, punkt. So bez punkto. Pointless.
Pointless.
So very often English spelling just seems completely pointless. Other uses of the word point is if you don't know what somebody is saying, or you don't know what they are talking about, or what sense they are making from what they're talking about, you can say, what's your point? O co ci chodzi? What's your point?
What's your point?
Now, speaking of point, we also use point to say kropka. So for example, 0.8, 0.8. But in Poland you don't use kropka, you don't use a point, you use przecinek. So you would say 0.8. We don't do this in English, we use points. Also on a calculator, you'll see, we use a dot, it's a point. So 0.8. The same is with money, or when I'm trying to do my internet banking here in Poland, I have to put in a comma, but I'm very nervous about using a comma because in England we use a point. So just so you know, in Poland when you use a comma, in England it's completely the opposite, we use a point. So 1000 in English, 1000 would be 1 comma and 3 zeros. In Polish you have 1 dot 3 zeros. Bez sensu. Before I go, I mentioned at the start of the lesson that I am 40. Many Polish people confuse 30 with 40. 30, 40. That's the pronunciation problem that many Polish people make. I don't know how I can explain it anymore. Just remember and for, or. 30, 40.
30, 40.
By the way, do I look 40? I'm not 40. I lied. That's all for lesson 6. If you want to keep watching, then subscribe and share. Write a comment in the box below if you have any questions, you want to learn anything new or anything specific. I will answer your questions. And most of all, please continue to learn my language.
Vocabulary. A few days ago. In English you can't say I ended 40 years. Right? If I had been born one day earlier, I would have been completely different. Whereas. Above. Heavy. Tough, rough, enough, cough, although. Bought. Why are there so many differences? Pointless. Seems completely pointless. What's your point? Speaking of, the same is with. Just so you know, completely the opposite. Comma. Dot. Before I go. Confuse. By the way. Learn my language. Robert Wolff.